All right, guys, let's wrap it up with a look at the weekend of football to come. College football headliners, number 3 Georgia heading to Tuscaloosa to take on number 2 Alabama. The big story, of course, revolves around Alabama head coach Nick Saban testing positive for the coronavirus this week. However, his tests have been coming back negative, and he might be able to coach Saturday night, depending on that. So, Drake, likely the biggest regular season game of the year for the Tide, and could still be an SEC championship preview. So, who wins this and why? And then after that, let us know what other games you're watching this weekend.
Well, I can go and answer that right now. If we're talking about college, I'm not sure what other game I'm gonna be watching. I might be watching boxing until this game come on. But there's neither here nor there. It's not their fault. COVID and knocked out some other good contender matches. It is what it is. It's the world we live in. But here's the deal. Number 3 Georgia versus number 2 Alabama. You got the number 1 defense in Georgia going against the number 1 offense in Alabama in the country. And I guess it all depends on your philosophy of what you think wins games. If you think the points that get put up win games, or do you really think defense win games, that's who you go with. Of course, I'm not finna get up here and not pick my boys. You know what time it is. You know what I'm saying? I want I like my grits with extra cheese in it with the salt. So I'm going with Bama. Now, but here's why. It's not just because they're Bama, but I do believe you have to kind of look at the numbers a little bit, and you have to ask yourself, is the gap between Alabama and Georgia defense bigger, or is the gap between Alabama offense and Georgia's offense bigger? So when I look at that, listen, I do understand that Alabama they did not look good in their last game. But let's take this in context. You had Hurricane Delta came through. It was the conditions were what they was. No one tackled well in that game. If you actually look in that game, both teams ran the ball wild because of the condition. It wasn't many passes that was just blew your mind away when you watch that game. There's a few down the field for both teams, but majority tight end, running back action for both teams in that game. And then you go back to Georgia and Tennessee. They played in much drier conditions. And listen, I don't take anything away from Georgia. But listen, Mac Jones ain't no Garrett Garantano either. He ain't finna be out here fumbling 3 straight drives, throwing picks out. No, that ain't happening. So I do think this is probably the best defense Alabama would see this year, but I also think this is the best offense Georgia would see this year. So when you take into everything that we've seen thus far, I understand Georgia offense is good. I just truly think, with or without Nick Saban, I would love for that to happen, but I do think Alabama will have enough wrinkles on offense to throw Georgia off, and they will play good enough defense. They just gotta make tackles. They ain't gotta make the big plays. They just gotta tackle. That was the biggest problem against Ole Miss. They couldn't tackle. They made plays in the backfield, and Matt Corral just hit him with the Crisco and just kept going. Like he just slid, and he throw a ball down the field and hope a guy was there, and evidently a guy was there. He catches the ball, and that was that. So I think you're going to get a better effort from the Alabama defense first and foremost. They're going to simplify the game plan on defense. They're going to knock it off with all this complex bull crap that they was talking about at practice. They're going to simplify it. And I'm telling you right now, you know how Danny Green said his fiance was getting death threats after he missed that shot in Game 5? Well, I'm telling you right now, if the defense play like they did in this game against Georgia and it becomes a blowout or something, hey, Pete Golden, better known as Pete Silver, he's out of here. He is out. Hey, death threats, bomb threats, let's clear the building. You know what I'm saying? Hey, it's about to go down, baby, because that can't happen against Georgia. You can lose to Georgia, but you can't just completely not show up on one side of the ball against Georgia, because that ain't going to happen. So with that said, I definitely I like the fact that, one thing I wanted to say, I looked at the odds for this game a couple of days ago, and it was at 6. Then, Nick Saban, he tests positive for coronavirus, and then it drops 2.5 on the line. When in the world do a coach be worth almost a field goal? A coach is almost worth a field goal. Can you believe that? He don't even play on the field, but he worked field goal. I thought that was outrageous. But when you Nick the GOAT Saban,
say you're Nick Saban, you ain't just some dude, Yeah.
when you Nick the GOAT Saban, I guess that matters. But I do think if it's any time Georgia had their best chance of taking a shot at Alabama, I think this would be the game. I hope the game lives up to the billing of being the game of the year thus far. But I definitely take my boys, but I take them by no more than 10 points, 7 to 10 points in the win. I think they might get a good little freebie at the end and pull it off and get to run the ball and run the clock out. So I definitely take Alabama on this game Saturday.
Yeah, normally you'd probably first of all, this is definitely the game of the year so far in college football. I don't think it doesn't get much better than this. And I'm a huge fan of the 8 o'clock CBS those games. I love them. So got to point that out first and foremost. But it may, the more I think about it, the more I'm thinking that it may hinge on Nick Saban. You mentioned the line as far as the odd makers are concerned. I'm really leaning this way. If Nick Saban's on the sidelines and he's coaching, I think Bama wins. If he's not, then I'm a little bit more unsure. Although I'm probably not willing to go out and pick Georgia outright. But I do agree. It's going to be a fascinating matchup between Bama's offense, which is just out of control on people right now, with Mac Jones throwing the ball to Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith. And then Najee Harris just doing everything he's doing. It's something to behold. It really is. And then Georgia's defense. I mean, we talked about it I believe Tuesday, about the SEC defenses as a whole. Like, what are we even looking at right now? Georgia seems to be really, when you talk about the upper echelon teams, they're the one team that they look balanced so far. They look to be pretty good offensively, but then defensively, that's really where they make their money. So that's going to be the matchup. I'm leaning Bama right now. It's just hard to believe that Georgia's, although they may have a little more success than some of these other teams, whether it's A&M or Ole Miss, they may have a little more success. But then again, what is their offense going to do? And are we really going to see Alabama, especially if Nick Saban's on the sideline, just giving death glares to people and just chewing people up on the sidelines for just play that is absolutely substandard? Are we really going to see a defensive, just absolutely train wreck performance 2 weeks in a row? I just can't imagine we see that. So that's why, as of right now, Nick Saban's on the sideline. I'd go Bama in this game, but it's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be the best game of the day. And unfortunately, that's why we're probably going to transition to NFL right now, or else, somebody will probably be talking about Florida State. So let's go ahead and fast forward.
I had no plans of doing such. Since you mentioned it, hey, North Carolina. As far as this game goes, which I will have to have both of them on because I have my civic duty to behold. I see this still as being in Bama's favor. I think that you look at it, they have Steve Sarkisian's offensive coordinator. He'll be the head coach and standing in if Saban can't be out there. And yeah, he's had some rough stuff in the past, but he's got head coaching experience. I mean, he's done this before. He ain't new here. So I think that you have a competent, qualified guy that can step in and hold the clipboard for a game and not completely, bungle it up. And I really just, when you look at how much weapons Alabama has, if I have to pick, between a really, really tight game, I think, okay, well, who's got the better quarterback? And the kid from Georgia's come on, and he's doing the thing. We all kind of thought we'd see JT Daniels. It's the Stetson Bennett dude instead. He's been nice, been serviceable, but been above average sometimes. But I think Mac Jones, even go back to last year, we've seen him make a lot of big plays. And, I mean, he may not be quite Tua, but he ain't been bad either. I mean, it's, the few losses they've had have mostly been on the defensive side of the ball and just not being able to, they don't score 50 type thing. So I think that Georgia just won't be able to light it up quite like Alabama will. And as good as this Georgia's defense has been, you look at who they've played, Arkansas, the Felipe Franks show, are they really that good? I mean, you held Bo Nix 6 points, but I mean, that's Bo Nix. I'm told he's good, but still waiting on it. And then Tennessee, like, Drake alluded to, Guantano out there doing his thing. So I just think that, Georgia's defense could be a little overinflated where we know this Alabama offense is for real. We've seen these guys going back to last year. we know they're going to show up. So I think that that would be it there. But as far as the whole college football picture, it is just worth noting again, there are 3 top 10 teams that can't play this weekend due to coronavirus. You got Oklahoma State, Cincinnati, and Florida, all with games postponed. There's a couple other games, 6 in total that are postponed. You're having issues now with the SEC has had teams cropping up, not being able to control it very well. So it's getting a little shakier than it was a few weeks ago. And for now, it doesn't look like a showstopper. But these teams really need to get this under control because they're just starting to look a little concerning, especially if you combine that with what the NFL's got going on. Let's go ahead and talk about the NFL and go over to the Week 6 schedule. So there's not too many massive games in the NFL schedule either, but 2 do stand out. At 1 o'clock on CBS, the Browns are traveling to Pittsburgh to take on the undefeated Steelers. Then at 4:25, the Packers pack it up and head to sunny Tampa Bay. So, Drink, how do you see these games playing out?
Well, I'll tell you this. This is the game for us to find out if Cleveland ready. If they're ready to really take this step forward, if they're ready to live up to the expectation that people starting to build to them, is Stefanski the guy? Is he the guy to change the culture here and take the brown paper bags off the fans' faces? Pittsburgh no slouch on the defense side of the ball. We know that. They're number 1 in a lot of stats in the NFL. They can sack the quarterback. They can rush the quarterback. They can do some things. I like what I've seen out of Cleveland offensive line thus far. I also like what Stefanski has done. He has lowered Baker Mayfield throwing attempts because he's noticed if Baker Mayfield throws the ball more, we're gonna get a tight win or we're gonna lose. If we run the ball more, we're most likely going to win, and it might not even be close on top of that. So now the problem is Pittsburgh is no Nick Chubb. It's Kareem Hunt and whoever the other guy is. So I'm pretty sure they're going to hone in on that, right? I'm very interested to see how Stefanski runs because I personally don't want Baker Mayfield throwing the ball 42 times with this Pittsburgh defense. It's just not a recipe for success. But let's look at the other side. You say, okay, well, the front 7 of Cleveland is no slouch. They can probably get the Big Ben too. And as Jay yelled out earlier, I guess Pittsburgh missing some weapons outside in the receiving court. So it's like, it's very interesting. I would say this, and I picked Cleveland to make the playoffs this year. This would be the game to let me know if they're really ready to make the playoffs. It really is. Pittsburgh playing, Pittsburgh is Pittsburgh. Mike Tomlin is we just feel like they're going to do something. They're going to do something right. So you don't doubt Pittsburgh as much as you doubt Cleveland at this point. I think all the onus is on Cleveland to win this game more than Pittsburgh to win this game, just because of what we've seen out of them. And then Green Bay and Tampa Bay, let's be real here. Outside of the one game where Tom Brady threw for 5 touchdowns, give me another miraculous performance. I'm not trying to hear it. Tom Brady been out here flopping around. He been out here waiting on the stimulus package. I don't know what he got going on, but he has not been good for majority of the year. Tell me what you want to. Yeah, he's still the GOAT, but he out here looking like Michael Jordan in the Wizards jersey. I'm just not buying it right now. This is not looking good for the old GOAT. And then we got Green Bay, a team we was blistering before the season started because they were just out here flailing around with all of the decision-making. We're going to defer all decision-making per COVID instructions. And now look at Green Bay over here. They actually look like they was doing something right in the offseason because they're on fire right now. They're number 1 in a lot of stats on the offense side of the ball as well. And now let me tell you something. That defense, it leaves much to be desired. But I'm telling you right now, they out here with a Super Bowl offense and a wild card defense, and that ain't gonna cut it. So that well, let me make my picks. I forgot. I'm gonna take Cleveland. I think Cleveland beats Pittsburgh, and then I'm gonna take Green Bay. I just don't have enough confidence in Tom Brady in the offense right now. His weapons stay hurt. He either lose one or the other of both guys. It's a mess with that wide receiver core right now. And that offensive line, oh my God. We seen with the offensive line. Dudes out there getting suplex, Hulkamania leg drop, all that good stuff. That's not going to cut it against Green Bay. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of that defense, that's just not going to cut it against Green Bay. So I'm going to take Green Bay and Cleveland in both of those games.
Yeah, these are going to be two really fun matchups. Definitely a big measuring stick game for Cleveland. I know they won 4 in a row. You know, they're on a hot streak. But let's please keep in mind those first 3 wins were the Falcons, the Cowboys, and DC's beloved football team. Give them credit for last week against Indianapolis. I thought that was a really good win. But this would be a step up even more and kind of put a stamp on the validation of are they for real or not. I think the big matchup to watch in this game is, can Cleveland run the football? If they can, I think they got a chance because, like you say, I think you want to keep Baker Mayfield's passing attempts down. And not only that, try to keep that Pittsburgh pass rush at bay because they get after you. I mean, T.J. Watt, Bud Dupree, Cam Hayward, Stephon Tuitt, they all coming. So if you get one-dimensional, it's gonna be a long day. I'm not sure that Cleveland's offensive line is gonna be ready to handle that. And then the other side, you right on money. No Deontay Johnson, David Castro, their great right guard is gonna be out. But this is I've been trying to tell people every now and again, this Pittsburgh Steelers receiving core is pretty good. Juju Smith-Schuster, I mean, we know what he's gonna do. James Washington. He's a guy that I've been, touting for a while now. And this kid, Chase Claypool, I mean, my Lord, he was a highlight reel last week. He scored 4 touchdowns. So their receiving core is pretty deep. Even without Deontay Johnson, I think they're going to be trouble. They're going to give Cleveland's defensive backs some problems. And one of the things I think is easy to forget, the big question for Pittsburgh was all about Big Ben. Big Ben looks really good. So with that in mind, and they look elite right now. I mean, they're running that division, and it was before the season, it was a foregone conclusion. We thought that Baltimore was going to run away with it like they did last year. Not the case so far. I like Pittsburgh in that game. I really do. And then in the second one, a couple quick one-liners to really get off my chest real quick. First of all, Tom Brady, I'm not going to go as far as drink on this, but I am going to say you might want to know what down it is. Or else you can go ahead and start filing the Social Security applications to get the 65 and over money. But listen, Green Bay. Remember, God rest his soul, Kobe Bryant. Remember when Kobe Bryant told Mark Cuban, amnesty that? Remember that? Remember that game in 2013 where Mark Cuban was talking about the amnesty clause and maybe the Lakers should stop paying and whatever? And then he dropped 60 and 3/4, something outrageous. And then he tweeted after the game, yeah, amnesty that. Aaron Rodgers is telling Green Bay the same thing. Oh, you want to draft my replacement 4 years in advance? Oh, good. I got something for you. And we rolling now. All the credit in the world to Aaron Rodgers. He's making this happen. He's playing at a ridiculously high level, even though they neglected to get him any more weapons. Okay, Scantling. Okay, Lizard Man, we're coming for you. Let's ride. That's what's happening right now. And on the other side, for Tampa Bay, I think the reason I'm going against Cleveland and Tampa Bay right now is these pass rushes for Green Bay and Pittsburgh are ferocious. And Green Bay, this is for Tampa Bay in this matchup, this is a bad matchup because those tackles, like I'm telling you, the kid works. He's a rookie. We'll see how it goes. But this Donovan Smith fella, you can go ahead and forget about it. Zadarius Smith, Preston Smith, they coming. And I think that's the difference. I think Green Bay wins that one.
Yeah, some good matchups for sure. Just the one thing you could say though, really about both Cleveland and Pittsburgh coming in. I mean, Cleveland's the Indianapolis win was nice, but I could play the same game with Pittsburgh. I mean, they beat the Giants, Broncos, Texans, and Eagles. Those teams are 3-15-1. So the game is going to be really interesting on both sides because despite that, the eye test tells you Pittsburgh is really good. I mean, yeah, you can come in here and say,
thank you so much.
But I was getting to that. I mean, obviously the eye test tells you something different. So you can't really play that game too much. But, we still 3-15-1. Let's cement it with a division win against a big, a pretty good football team. But for Cleveland, it's the same thing. It's an opportunity to go out and beat your division, leader right now and kind of cement that, hey, no, we're actually for real this year. We're not just, making it get by. So this is really a big prove it game for both teams. I would probably go ahead and lean towards Pittsburgh, if nothing else, because they have Mike Tomlin. The other team doesn't have Mike Tomlin. So that would be, probably the deciding factor if I had to pick one. And then, for the Battle of the Bays, I am kind of nervous to see what Aaron Rodgers is going to do to that Tampa Bay secondary. It might not be pretty. The Aaron Rodgers revenge tour is great, by the way. It's been really enjoyable to watch. Jordan who ? Question mark. But I think for Tampa Bay, it's not really time to panic if you lose that game. But again, that's another team you're going to have to beat in the playoffs. You lost to the Saints. I still don't think you're going to be able to play the Bears in the playoffs, but you might. I don't know. And you couldn't even beat them, and that's a game you should have won. So it's going to start. If you lose to Green Bay at home, the Pirate flags, there's going to be some other flags coming up if you don't get that figured out.